What if I told you that at one point, the entire human species nearly vanished, and almost no one has heard the real reason why? Not a meteor, not a plague, not even a predator. Something far quieter, far slower, and far more terrifying. Before we get into it, if mysteries like this fascinate you, hit subscribe to the Primal Logic, because this is exactly the kind of story we live for. Now, let's get into it. Somewhere around 200,000 years ago, our species, Homo sapiens, had just shown up on the African continent. Fresh, new, fragile. We weren't the strongest animals out there. We weren't the fastest. We didn't have claws, thick fur, or night vision. What we had was a big brain, a bit of clever behavior, and a whole lot of luck. But that luck was about to run out, because Africa was changing, and not in a gentle way. Picture this. Rivers that once flowed year-round begin shrinking into cracked, dusty veins. Lakes that supported entire ecosystems start disappearing, leaving nothing but salt flats behind. This wasn't a bad year of weather. This was a climate catastrophe that lasted for tens of thousands of years. Scientists call this period part of a series of megadroughts, and one, in particular, linked to a phase known as Marine Isotope Stage 6, may have been so severe that it pushed nearly every early human population toward extinction. Let that sink in for a second. Not struggled, not had a rough time, extinction. Now here's where it gets even stranger. If you look at the genetic history hidden inside every human alive today, there's a strange signature buried in our DNA, a bottleneck. A moment where the size of the entire human population appears to have crashed down to shockingly small numbers. Some researchers estimate our ancestors may have dropped to only a few thousand individuals, maybe even fewer, scattered in tiny, isolated pockets across the continent. Imagine that, the future of every human who would ever exist, funneled through a population you could fit into a single sports stadium. One drought. One really, really bad few thousand years. That's how close we came to never existing at all. But here's where things get weird, because we obviously didn't go extinct. Something happened. Some group, somewhere, found a way to survive when almost everyone else didn't. And for a long time, scientists had no idea where or how. Let's step into the world these early humans were facing, because words like drought don't really capture what daily survival looked like. Imagine waking up each morning already thirsty, not just uncomfortable, dangerously thirsty, the kind that clouds your thinking and slows your body down. You walk for hours searching for water that used to be right there, and now it isn't. The animals are struggling too. Herds that once provided food are pushing further and further away, chasing the last patches of green, leaving early humans with less and less to hunt. Your children are hungry, your elders are weak, and every single day is a fight against a landscape that seems to be actively working against you. This is what a full-blown extinction event actually feels like from the inside. It's not dramatic in the movie sense. It's slow. It's grinding, and it's brutally simple. No food, no water, no survival. Most human groups during this time likely disappeared, quietly, leaving no trace, no story, no descendants. But not everyone. Now, here's where the mystery finally starts to crack open, because researchers studying ancient caves along the southern coast of Africa began noticing something incredible. While the interior of the continent was turning into a dust bowl, one narrow strip of land was staying strangely livable, the southern coastline. Here's why that mattered so much. The ocean doesn't dry up. Even when rainfall disappears, even when rivers vanish, the coast still offers food in the form of shellfish, edible plants, and marine resources that don't depend on rain at all. In caves like Pinnacle Point in South Africa, archaeologists uncovered burnt shells, tools, and evidence of a group of humans who were doing something nobody expected. They were surviving by exploiting the ocean itself.
This is where things get almost cinematic, if you picture it.
While the rest of humanity was fighting a losing battle against the sky, a small group of survivors turned toward the sea, and the sea gave them a chance. Mussels, clams, whelks, foods that didn't care whether it rained or not. For the first time, a food source existed that wasn't tied to the unpredictable, collapsing climate. And that single shift may be the reason you and I are here today. But surviving physically was only half the story. Something else was happening at the same time. Something scientists didn't expect to find. Because in those same coastal caves, researchers discovered pieces of ochre, a reddish pigment, carved and scraped in deliberate patterns. They found early evidence of symbolic thinking, markings, design, intentional decoration. In other words, while our species was clinging to survival by its fingertips, something inside the human mind was also evolving. Fast. This wasn't just about eating enough to survive one more day. This was early art, early symbolism, maybe even early identity. Think about that contrast for a moment. Starvation on one side, creativity awakening on the other. It's almost as if extreme pressure didn't just threaten our existence. It may have helped shape the exact mental spark that made us human in the first place. Nature clearly didn't get the memo that we were supposed to be too busy surviving to start being creative. Now you'd think that's the end of the story. Humans found the coast, found food, found safety, and moved on. But evolution had another plan. And this is where scientists were completely surprised. Because this coastal refuge didn't just save humanity physically. It may have acted like a bottleneck filter, favoring certain traits over others. The individuals who survived weren't necessarily the strongest or fastest. They were the ones who could adapt, who could problem solve, who could figure out new food sources when the old ones disappeared, who could cooperate with their group under extreme stress. In other words, this drought may have accidentally selected for exactly the traits that define modern human intelligence: flexibility, innovation, social cooperation, creative thinking under pressure. It's almost like evolution accidentally left a bug in the system. Except that bug turned out to be the reason we can build cities, write music, and yes, watch videos like this one on a glowing rectangle while sipping coffee. The very thing that nearly wiped us out may have also built the blueprint for who we became. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by a stressful week at work or an impossible deadline, remember, your ancestors didn't just survive an apocalypse. They got smarter because of it. Your brain, right now, might genuinely be running software shaped by a drought that happened 200,000 years ago. But here's the question I want to leave you with. If a climate disaster once pushed humanity to the edge of extinction and forced our ancestors to adapt in ways that made us who we are today, would we adapt like they did? Or have we become too disconnected from the raw survival instincts that saved us the first time? If this story pulled you in, imagine what else is hiding in our deep past. Subscribe to the Primal Logic, because we're only just getting started uncovering the hidden reasons behind who we are.